Hello there guys, you're listening to Ebird Online and I'm here with another review from before the 90 days. And today guys, we're going to talk about Ash and Avery. So this week we see Avery leave Melbourne for good, and at the end of the video I'm going to talk over and assess what I think the future holds for this relationship, if anything. And at the very end of the video, I'm going to give Ash a little read, not because I dislike him as such, but there's just a few things I want to get off my chest. Guys, if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. All you've got to do is click that red button for regular content, and also don't forget to like and share, and you can follow me on Twitter at mbird99. So I'm going to go back very quickly to last week, and so Ash and Avery are in bed, and it's obvious that they spent the night together, so it seems as if things are potentially somewhat back on track. And Avery tells us Shian, Taj's mum, shed some light on the relationship between Taj and Ash, and shed some light on some of the concerns that she had. Ash is busy wondering what was said. Well, wonder no more, because as soon as they get up, they decide to have a chat about it. And Avery said, Ash, when we first spoke about this, you led me to believe that everything would be okay with taking Taj to America. And Ash said, yeah, but I didn't want to create any, negativity. Ash, if the truth is negative, do you not think that's going to create increased negativity when it finally comes out? He really hasn't got two brain cells to rub together. But Avery ploughed on nevertheless and said there's a difference between creating negativity and being real with reality. Avery, don't you know by now that Ash hasn't got a clue of the difference between fantasy and reality? And she said you should have let me understand the situation as it actually is. And Ash tells us Sean was okay to start off with, but it seems she's changed her mind. Ash, come on now, none of us believed in the first instance that a mother would just happily say, yeah, let my son go with his dad to the United States of America. I don't mind if he leaves permanently. And guys, I think it's really obvious that Sean never said any such thing, but I think that Ash really was in love with Avery right from the jump when he saw her online, and I think he said whatever he needed to say to get her over to Australia, and he thought, I can use my charm on her. Little realising that Avery's not an idiot and saw right through it. And Avery said, Ash, I don't know why you can never be honest with me in the first instance. And then she also brought up the whole fact that he was only divorced 1 year ago. And finally, after 13 weeks on 90 Day Fiance, we have a first from Ash. He finally admits that he lied. All we need now, Ash, is for you to admit that the lie lasted 13 weeks, i.e. everything you did and everything you said. And Avery finishes off the conversation by saying it's the first time she's had a constructive conversation with him. And Avery tells us, I'm not sure where I stand with the relationship now. It seems as if everything is stacked against us. And now it's Avery's turn to lie. Avery, you knew everything was stacked against you in the first instance, and you knew also that it was going to be very unlikely that Taj was allowed to go with you and Ash to the US. The only difference now is that you've realised that Ash is an absolute embarrassment. That Ash is so shameless he'll stand up in a room full of people knowing that it's going to be televised on national TV and try and bluff his way through what he says he does for a living. And they're planning to return to Melbourne, but before they do that they want to spend time with Taj. And Avery tells us that Ash won't be able to come to the US anytime soon. Well then Avery, why are you meeting up with Taj then? As we all know, children catch feelings and they only need to see you a couple of times before they decide, oh, I really like her. And Ash is no better. He tells us he'll have to travel back and forth between Australia and America because he can't leave Taj behind as he's only 9. He still says let's meet up with Avery. I just don't understand all of this. It's pointless. And so anyway, all three of them go to feed the ducks. And even though there's a colossal sign saying do not feed the ducks, Ash doesn't even realise. And it seems that Ash never ever realises massive signs that are right in front of his face. And Taj is warming up to Avery. Although this is somewhat difficult to believe. I'm not saying Avery's miserable, but at birth God gifted her her own personal black cloud. She carries it wherever she goes. But Avery laments once more, if Ash were to come to America, he'd have to spend time away from Taj, and she doesn't want to create any issues between parents and their child. Avery, either way you would have created an issue. Whether it was with Ash or with Shian and her son, there was always going to be an issue if you're deciding to relocate somebody's country. And then they drive back to Melbourne. All three of them, that is. Ash, Avery and Ash's ego. And Avery says she's really going to miss him when she gets back to the United States, but it's a really complicated situation, and I think this is Avery's code for saying, this is finito, finished, I'm done. It's so complicated, I just don't see the point of continuing, instead of saying, I'm so embarrassed by Ash's presence on Earth that I don't want anybody to link me with him in any way whatsoever going forward. So Ash and Avery are back in Melbourne, and Avery tells us she's leaving tomorrow. They both think that in 5 years' time, Ash will be able to move permanently to the US. Really? 5 years' time? So when Taj is 14? So you, Ash, and you, Avery, are saying that 14 is the ideal time, puberty, when a father should abandon his child. And yes, I do use the word abandon, because 8,200 miles away is somewhat of an abandonment, whichever way you look at it. And Ash should think about this, because Taj will still be a child at 14, and you'll have very limited contact with him. And they continue making plans for Ash to move over to America. And Ash tells Avery that he applied for his passport 2 months ago. So you'll be applying the day after tomorrow then, will you, Ash? As soon as Avery has gone home, he'll put the paperwork in and he'll send off. And then Ash looked at her earnestly and said, I will marry you. Now isn't the right time, but in time, I know we'll get married. Alright, Ash, there's no need for threats now. And guys, I looked at Avery's eyes and really it seems to me that she's clocked all the way out. And Ash and Avery both say they're not sure when they'll see each other next. Luckily, I am. Never. So finally, Ash drops Avery off at the airport, and it would seem as if Ash has managed to digmatise Avery, as she's still harping on about what a great night it was last night. And for what it's worth, both of them look quite upset, and they say the obligatory I love yous, and Ash tells us he'll miss his best friend. Oh really? Just last week, you began the week by saying, I'm single right now, and then you continued with your shit show. You let Avery know that your brain is logical, and hers emotional. You told her men are out doing exciting things like hunting and gathering food, and women, well, they must stay in the home. You then got the side eye from a load of Australian chicks and one from Seattle, and then when you returned home, you blamed the whole sorry incident on Avery, and you spent the next 24 hours gaslighting her. Is that the best friend you speak of, Ash? Is that she? So I think it's fair to say at this point, I think that Ash is massively in love with Avery, but I think that Avery's going along with it because I think Ash lays it down in the bedroom and Avery seems powerless to resist. And they both get on the plane, Avery and her black cloud that is, and Ash sheds a tear. So guys, what do we make from this? When I unpick it all, I come to the conclusion that Ash definitely is in love with Avery. Avery was in love with Ash, but she's now not. She's realised Ash is no good. But I gotta say I was surprised somewhat when Ash said my best friend's gone. They spent the whole 2 weeks arguing from what I saw, and they were in constant conflict. So I really find it difficult to understand why Ash is so in love with Avery. I mean, she's not exactly a barrel of laughs. The black roses he bought were exactly right for her. She is a little ray of pitch black. Avery never ever smiles, so I just really don't get what it is that Ash thinks they have. But one thing's for sure, for this relationship to have even a small chance of survival, Avery needs to get back to Seattle and get some weed-laced salads ASAP. That's the only way that Ash could ever make sense. And we've seen over the past few weeks, Ash talks in his psychobabble. Ash lacks the ability to put together a lucid and coherent sentence, but unfortunately he has the ability to speak, and therein lays the problem. If Ash wrote down every intelligent thought he'd ever have, it wouldn't even amount to a single tweet. Whenever Avery asks him a question, he does his best to evade it or double talk her. And Avery, God bless her, she tried to break him down, but it's a difficult job. And I keep on hearing that Ash is some sort of gigolo. Don't buy it, don't believe it. By now, just one person, one woman would have come forward and said, yeah, I paid Ash for sex. And guys, I was going to come here and say to you today, I don't even think that Ash has all the women that his florist claims. But given that Avery seems so digmatised by him, I have to accept he's picked up his knowledge from somewhere. So it's very possibly true that his florist was telling the truth. But there's absolutely no way that he's a relationship coach. He didn't know the first thing about it. And even though people keep telling me, oh, but he usually works one-to-one. Think about what you do in your everyday life. What do you do for a living? If somebody asks you to more or less describe it to a group of people for an hour, you'll be able to do it without stuttering and panicking and running out of the room. None of us still know what it is that Ash does for a living. And the Ebird would love to know. And I could tell after the shit show that Avery really wanted to talk to him about what it is you think, what it is you do, but she never really got to the bottom of that conversation. And as far as I'm concerned, Avery needed to have a big woman talk. And she should have been telling Ash that a line of work consistent with your weaknesses isn't an ideal career choice. But of course it's Avery, so she didn't, and understandably she wasn't gassed at the idea of dating an imbecile. But I have managed to unearth just one ray of sunshine. What is it, you ask? Oh guys, I hate to say it, but I've just realised that Ash is the most eligible bachelor on Before the 90 Days. Just have a moment to think about that. Who is it that you know that's better than Ash on the whole of this season? Nobody. TLC, you really did give us a pile of doggy doo-doo this season. For Ash to be the best, that's really saying something. It's Ash that's the MVP. It's Ash that's a Don Gagan. And it's Ash that's the Don Corleone of this season. And I want to tip my glass to Ash because he actually gave me the funniest episode this season. His shit show seminar was hilariously funny. Ash, you're living proof that God really does have a sense of humour. So guys, let me know what you think. Who do you think is this season's top guy? And I know we've set the bar, well, in fact to even below sea level. But whichever way I look at it, it comes out to be Ash. So let me know in comments what you think. Also let me know, do you think that Avery is going to stick with Ash? Or do you think she's texting him as soon as she gets on the phone and presses send, so as soon as she lands, ping, it's Avery's middle finger? Guys, that's what my money's on. And that's everything for this review. Please don't forget to subscribe, just press the red button. It's so easy to do. And also don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Ebird99. Thank you for listening to my little mini rant. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.